Joe Biden is collapsing as his polls begin to implode. In this video, we're going to take a look at what pollsters are calling the sharp downward turn for Biden, why his polls are tanking, and how Biden's physical and mental frailty represent nothing less than the demise of the old globalist political order forever. You are not going to want to miss it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here to give you conservative hope each and every single day in the midst of all these turbulent and trying times, helping you to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Now, before we dive in here, make sure to click on the link below and head on over to my special website for My Patriot Food Supply. As we've been seeing with this whole pandemic craziness, we cannot wait for an emergency to happen before we respond to one, and no one makes preparing for an emergency more ridiculously easy and affordable than our good friends over at My Patriot Supply. Gang, they're simply the best. Their food kits last up to 25 years in storage. They include breakfast, maybe 2 breakfasts for you hobbits out there, lunches, dinners, and if you act now, you can save $50 off a full 4-week emergency food supply when you click on the link below to my special website. So do not wait. I've got my food supply. Make sure you get yours. Click on that link below or go to preparewithsteve.com and save $50 off your very own 4-week emergency food supply today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look, Joe Biden is falling. He's stumbling. And no, I'm not talking about his failed attempt, his 3-fold failed attempt at climbing up the stairs to Air Force One, which was pathetic in of itself and the subject of endless and hilarious memes. No, Biden is falling politically. And it seems to be a free fall. Rasmussen is reporting that Biden's approval numbers are currently experiencing what Rasmussen is calling a sharp downturn. According to Rasmussen's daily tracking poll, Biden is underwater at 49% approval, while 49% disapprove. And what's key in this poll is the number that strongly disapprove. It is now at 42%. Now, that number's been rising, again, in Rasmussen's words, sharply. And it appears that the disgust with Biden is only getting worse, and that's because it is derived mainly from the crisis of the southern border. That's driving the surge in disapproval. Again, according to Rasmussen, 2/3 of likely voters blame Biden for the border chaos, which is getting worse by the day. We talked about this in yesterday's video, our first video, how even the radical left, mainstream Marxist media has had to admit that as every new day passes, Biden and the Democrats are getting more and more hammered for the completely unjustifiable crisis at the southern border. The American people are increasingly horrified by it, despite the fact that the Biden administration has ordered a gag order on any reporting or pictures from the southern border. Rasmussen is reporting that 73%, that's 3 in 4 likely voters, are concerned about the flood of migrants to the U.S.-Mexico border. 48% are very concerned. 51% of likely voters oppose giving them any form of amnesty. So we're barely 60 days into Biden's term, and he already has a major disaster in his hands that's only going to get worse, both at the border and in terms of Biden's poll numbers. Look, it's being reported by the conservative brief that the Democrats actually are in total denial over this. They have no clue what's actually happening here in terms of public opinion turning against them. The conservative brief is reporting that Democrats are getting very, very nervous that Biden's going to cost them the 2022 midterms. And do you know why? If you could believe it, they're worried they're going to lose the 2022 midterms because Biden isn't being radical enough. I kid you not, only Democrats would think this way. In a linked audio recording from a December meeting with civil rights activist Biden, it's rather clear that they have little confidence in Biden's ability to get their radical leftist agenda passed through legislation. So what they want him to do was to pass even more executive orders, which, as it turns out, we know Biden did, but nowhere near what these radical Marxists were wanting him to do. And so they're losing confidence in him as the leader of the new left. And they think they're going to end up paying the price of the midterms. Their voters aren't going to show up. But I think far more obviously, they're going to pay the price of the midterms precisely because of just how radical their agenda is and the chaos that such radicalism inflicts on our nation. And his feeble attempt to make it up that flight of stairs suggests, it's not just Biden's incompetence or his radical agenda that's hurting him. It's the fact that more and more people are recognizing that he simply isn't physically or mentally competent to be president. Dr. Naomi Wolf, right? She's one of the latest former Democratic advisors to turn on Biden. During a recent interview, the former advisor to Al Gore and Bill Clinton said she believes that Biden is, quote, struggling physically and could be a danger to the United States. According to Wolf, quote, as Americans, we would be remiss not to notice that this is a man who's struggling physically. And our national security kind of depends on our being grown-ups. She said that when a very elderly president is struggling physically, it's an important national security concern that we all should be able to discuss openly without partisanship. Now, Wolf has been quite open about her regret in voting for Biden, noting the serious erosions of our constitutional rights under his administrations, to which I say, well, duh. You don't need a doctorate to see that. So you have Biden struggling physically, you have Biden struggling politically, you have Biden struggling to bring about any semblance of order over the chaos at the border. And these are all concerns of Democrats. Democrats are saying these things. And Democrats are openly talking about how feeble Biden is mentally and physically. Democrats are openly expressing their concern over his ability to deliver on their radical agenda. And Democrats are getting very, very nervous about the political ramifications at the border, especially after 4 glorious years of extraordinary border security under Trump. And now the world is talking about it. To make matters even worse, you have major world leaders openly talking about Biden's dementia. Now, you probably heard that Joe Biden recently insulted Russian President Putin the other day, calling him a killer without a soul, right? It was a very provocative statement to make regarding a world leader. It was last week sometime, and Russia didn't take too kindly to it, obviously. So not only did Putin troll Biden, saying that he wished him good health in the days ahead. I wish Biden good health, but one of Putin's party leaders, this is the leader of the United Russia Party, okay, that's Putin's party, the party's in power. This is like the head of the RNC or something akin to that. He came out and he described Biden's remarks as a reflection of his dementia. He went there. You have a major Russian party leader going there, calling out our president's obvious dementia. So what's going on here? What sense should we make of all of this? Well, before we get into it, gang, if you are looking for encouragement, I know a lot of you are. If you're looking for hopeful alternatives to the fake news nonsense that can make us so dejected coming from the leftist likes of CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, you're going to find no better antidote to that despair than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Now, don't take my word for it. Just read through all the reviews on Amazon. They're very wonderful, 260 of them. And you see how this book cuts through all the cynicism and despair that we so often feel living in this crazy globalist world. So in page after page, I give you all the data, I give you all the stats and indicators that show nothing less than a new conservative Christian majority emerging, not just throughout the United States, but Europe as well. And it's already transforming the world map into a more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on that link below, we're offering it for a limited time at a 50% discount. That's right, you're going to get it half off, but do not wait. It is a limited time offer. Click on that link below, get your book at a super discount today, and arm yourself with the information you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, so what sense should we make of this incredible shrinking president? I think in many ways, Joe Biden is a symbol of the old globalist world order. He's old, he's feeble, he doesn't make a lot of sense when he talks. He thinks he's more important and significant than he really is. But the reality is that Biden is an embodiment of the state of decline. And that's increasingly difficult for the mainstream Marxist media to cover up because the mainstream Marxist media is itself going through a state of decline. Everywhere we look, the old globalist order continues to try to inflict its hegemony over the entire world, and yet it's never looked so feeble in attempting to do so. We talked about this in our very first video today, about the extraordinarily insulting Chinese delegation that met with the Biden administration in Anchorage, Alaska last week. The Biden administration was absolutely shocked. They were literally speechless at the Chinese delegation disregarding the 4-minute time limit that they were given for their opening remarks. And for the next 15 minutes, they openly castigated the United States for its arrogance in thinking it had some special right to impose its standards of democracy and human rights on other nations when so many millions of Americans don't believe in the integrity of America's democratic institutions. America's cities burned all throughout the summer, and yet the American State Department thinks it has the right, the gall, to lecture the rest of the world on how to conduct their internal affairs. You see, Biden is a perfect symbol of the old globalist world order. Yes, it can still cause lots of damage. Yes, it could still make life quite miserable for a lot of people. Yes, it still carries some significant influence. And yet, the old globalist world order has never looked so weak or so frail, so uncertain of itself, so failingly impotent. As Joe Biden, his chaos that he continues to create, continues to demise, we know one thing for certain. The days of the world being impressed or intimidated by the DC swamp are over. A new political order is increasingly consigning Biden and his dithering globalist reset to the dustbin of history. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. Definitely click on the link below and check out our cool merch like our Coca-Cola shirt. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how China did, in fact, humiliate the Biden administration as their plans for a globalist reset hits a massive wall. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.